Welcome, ladies and sinners, to the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your host, Cale Henderson. A lot to cover today in today's edition of the Sin City Sports Show, IE Vegas, the city, the show built for the Las Vegas sports venture. Listen, folks, we got a lot to talk about today. Big news coming around the corner, right? NFL Draft. Yes, that's the big news. Why? Because it's one of the biggest events on TV year-round, especially the first round. Unfortunately, our Las Vegas Raiders don't have a first-round pick, but it's still going to be an event. I do encourage you folks to visit LasVegas.com, take a look at the events, take a look at what's going on at the draft, take a look at the side things you can do, the attractions, the Ferris wheel, the activities that are, it's free admission, folks. You can watch your draft picks live, your team draft picks live. And then you can kind of mosey on over to the event area, enjoy the Ferris wheel, enjoy the food, enjoy just having a good time in general with the draft atmosphere. I know Nashville 2 years ago was a massive success. They had an influx of almost 500,000 people show up to Nashville over that weekend, and it was big for business. It's going to be big for Las Vegas. Not that they need help, because they are the entertainment capital of the world, but a lot of fun there. So if you guys want to get at us, please. If you have any questions, go to our Twitter, SinCity_IESR. You can get at me on my Twitter, at Cale_Henderson. The topics for today are pretty simple. We're going to visit UNLV sports, talk about the Las Vegas Aces, which that season's just right around the corner here. We will visit the Golden Knights. Are they in trouble right now? There's only about 5 or 6 games left in the season. Do they need to win out? And then the Las Vegas Raiders, we're going to go over some mock drafts. Draft buzzes around the corner. The Raiders have put themselves together a really nice roster. So let's see what happens moving forward. But when we get back, when we finish this intro, I'd be happy to talk to you guys a little more about that. Let's go. And welcome back to the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio. Yes, your direct feed for all that is sports. I am really happy to be back with you folks today. It's a blast getting on here. It feels like the hour goes by fast. I might have to bug Larry in a while, just depending on how the content's going, especially in season with the Raiders, to see what we might have to do to bump the show a little bit. But things are down the pike. Larry and I are talking. Larry Belmontes, if you guys don't know, he's the man, the myth, the legend. He runs IE Sports Radio, him and his soon-to-be wife, Cecilia, and we are putting together a game plan to make this Vegas sports show pop, okay? And some of that's going to be a lot of fan interaction aspects. I'd like to do some YouTube stuff, some maybe videos, especially with interaction with Raiders content. And whatever we can do to get this thing off the ground and really just support what is going to be what I believe the biggest sports market in America very soon is Las Vegas, especially with the impending move from an MLB team. It could be the A's. We're not quite sure. We just know they've been looking at spots. There's a possibility that in 5 years, there could be 3 teams that have basically expanded here in Las Vegas, which is great. It's fantastic. You can almost guarantee sellouts with the casinos and the businesses. So this is a place to be, and Vegas is really exciting. On to UNLV Sports, and actually before we do that, before we go on to UNLV Sports, I do want to talk about our sponsors today. Our sponsors are the Southern California Warriors. Absolutely, our guys. One moment, please. Technical difficulties with the phone. Southern California Warriors, semi-pro football team. The world of semi-pro sports is unlike any other sports organizations. Players pay to play in hopes of so many different outcomes, whether it's playing to get film, to try out for professional teams, big-time colleges, or just playing to stay in shape. No matter what, all semi-pro players have one thing in common, and that's playing for the love of the game. The SoCal Warriors have been on a quest to earn titles and give players second chances since 2017. Whether you're in Southern California or anywhere in the world, give semi-pro sports a chance if you love your sport. You may get that second chance you've been waiting for as an athlete. Social media, Twitter at SoCal Warriors. The Instagram page, visit their Instagram page at Southern California_Warriors. Facebook, Southern California Warriors. And we have to follow up with the man, the myth, the legend, the guy who pays the bills, IE Sports Radio. Social media, IE Sports Radio Twitter. We also have our Facebook, IE Sports Radio, IESportsRadio.com. For the last 7.5 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. All the while, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and with your help, we are ready to take the next step. When you go to our website, IESportsRadio.com, you'll see our Patreon link with 5 different tiers. The first one starting at $5 a month. This donation gets you a shout out on all 32 of our shows. High tiers include IE Sports Radio merchandise, access to our podcasting university, and even a chance to be featured on a feature or the segment of our flagship show, The Defining Moment, hosted by, again, the man, the myth, the legend, Larry B. Thank you all very much for continuing to make IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports. UNLV sports, here's what's down the pike, okay? UNLV basketball adds 2 transfers. Unfortunately, it loses its top recruit, someone they've really been vetting for, I don't know, I would say more than a year, and it's something that they really cared about, keeping. That's part of it, man. Sometimes with the recruiting, it's really hard to keep athletes, okay? It's really hard to keep athletes interested when you have this team coming in, this team coming in, this team coming in with different offers. The NIL, I'm not sure how much the NIL may have affected a move like this, but it's possible when you're a top recruit for another team that someone kind of says, hey, there's more opportunities here. I don't know how you could find more opportunities than what you're going to find in Vegas, but listen, I don't make the rules, man. I just kind of tell it how it is. Guys, listen, I think that UNLV is the spot to be now. I think they have really their facilities are getting better. They're growing. We've said this on a week-to-week basis. I have no idea how they're not running the Mountain West. They're the Sin City, the entertainment capital of the world. They have everything in front of them. Yes, I understand in most cases you're probably going to be a poor college athlete, but in this case, it's got to be nothing but fun. And I just don't know how you miss out on that atmosphere. Yes, the desert's hot, but it beats being in sub -30 temperatures in Minnesota or Wisconsin on a consistent basis. I don't know. That's just my thought process. I think UNLV is a great spot. The facilities are growing. Just in general, the atmosphere looks cool. So I don't know how you lose out on guys like that. I hope that's something they can start to figure out, but super weird. Really weird in that case. Blumfield, a quarterback. We're going to see some transfer news in the transfer portal. Blumfield, who is a 6'5 quarterback, he started 2 games last year. Looks like he's entering the transfer portal. And that's because of some stiff competition this spring at the quarterback position. Listen, I think that's one thing the athletic director of UNLV stated. He said, we're going to make this a very competitive college, and we're going to do everything we can to get on the top of the Mountain West. And in order to do that, you have to support your programs a little more, which is something they're doing a very good job of now. And listen, the head coach, he's come right out and said, I think we're in a good spot. I think we have 2 quarterbacks that can compete, and we're going to see what happens. One of the quarterbacks, pardon me a second. One of their quarterbacks was just lighting it up there in camp. I know that big shoes to fill at the running back position. They're going to have to figure out where to find the replacements there. But UNLV athletics seems to be on the up and up. Baseball team, the Rebels, won 21-11 versus New Mexico this past weekend. That's awesome. I mean, wow. Incredible. That's a lot of runs, guys. I just don't. I think if I remember correctly, I watched, and I'm just saying this because I'm from Lincoln, Nebraska. I think my hometown team got 20-some runs put on them in about 5 innings at one point. It's just incredible to me that you could do that in a baseball game. That'd be the type of games to go to. To me, baseball games are tough to watch. Okay, it's either really warm or uncomfortable. You're sitting in the sun. You're waiting for guys that are standing around waiting for a ball to come. I don't know. It drives me nuts. But realistically, if you're going to go to a game, you want to go to a game like that where the ball is hitting bats and you got guys running nonstop. You got to love that. Rebels are on a run. They're on a tear. It looks like they're actually doing a really good job in their conference. As far as football is concerned, I mean, they finished up spring practice this last weekend. It looks like there's a lot of optimism. The new defensive coordinator is bringing a bit of a 3-3-5 stack, a little bit of 4-2-5 type speed defense. So that's going to be interesting to see how that works. But yeah, Chandler Knight comes in. He says, regardless of NIL, no national games. Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you rather be in Wisconsin, etc.? I mean, if you're talking about like the University of Wisconsin, yes, I could see what you mean by that. The Big Ten exposure. I'm just talking about for overall experience as a college student. I'm not trying to go be where it's freezing. Yes, if you have the opportunity to start and with Wisconsin's ability to put people in the pros, I'm not against that. I totally get where you're coming from. Um, but yeah, I'm just looking at it in terms of if you had a college that was in the same level, um, Minnesota or somewhere in Minnesota where you had someone the same level as the UNLV Rebels. I just don't know why. If there's a competition going on, I don't know why you'd pick that. We're not talking about Wisconsin and UNLV in general, like the University of Wisconsin. That's crazy. That's crazy. There's no competition there. If you got Wisconsin knocking on your door saying, "Hey, here's a full ride scholarship," you're obviously going to pick them over UNLV. I totally get that. But that's apples and oranges. I didn't say the University of Wisconsin. I'm just saying at a school at Wisconsin or Minnesota in general. Um, yeah, those are night and day comparisons. In general, UNLV I think is a space to be. If you can't get into one of the big Power Fives, I have no idea why you wouldn't want to look into it. UCF is another one. I know it's not Las Vegas, but it's in Florida. Um, FAU, I mean, it's just nicer places in general. I grew up in cold weather areas, man. I'm telling you right now, I feel like it'd be a vacation if I would have gone to them. No, you're good, Chandler. It's all good. He said, "Oh, my bad." No, no, I didn't mean it like that. No, 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 no. There's no competition there. That'd be stupid to say on a live show. The University of Wisconsin vetting you versus UNLV vetting you. There's night and day. There's no difference, there's a huge difference there. Sorry. Wisconsin is crazy good. I think that they're probably Big Ten West leaders this year. Um, they've been a pain in the butt in my Nebraska Cornhuskers for years. So yeah, no, Wisconsin's crazy. While we're talking about that, Chandler, side note, Wisconsin drives me nuts. They need to find a quarterback. They have skill guys. They have running backs. They have one of the better offensive lines in all of college football, year in year out. The one thing they can't seem to do is find that quarterback that could push the ball down the field. It feels like it's the only thing holding this team back. Their defense is always top 10. I don't know if you're still in here, but Wisconsin drives me nuts. I just don't get how they can't do that in a Big Ten where honestly, like to me, if Williams would have been there, Caleb Williams, when there was rumored that he was flirting with the idea of going to Wisconsin, I thought if Wisconsin could have landed him, man, you guys were national title contenders. Seriously, Caleb Williams is special, okay, and he'd probably be the best quarterback that Wisconsin's had since I don't know. I would say he's probably Russell Wilson. We can't guarantee that Caleb will be better. Does he have potential? Does he have more potential? Maybe because of his size, speed, his arm. But Russell's Russell. We all know he was a baller. But yeah, man, I just don't get it. I can't figure out those quarterbacks the last few years have just not been very good, and I feel like it's held the team back from being a real national title contender. They're not asked to do too much, but when they're asked to do what they need to do, especially against really good teams like Ohio State, Penn State, it just seems like those quarterbacks they don't perform unless you got guys like Jonathan Taylor and now the new stud Melvin Gordon, those guys popping off for 150 some yards. The offensive line is spectacular. I have no idea how Wisconsin recruits massive dudes like that, just filled with cheese and bulk every year, and other teams in the Big Ten can. It's nuts to me. But yeah, Wisconsin, I had to take a side note there. Sorry about that, Vegas fans. Wisconsin drives me nuts. I feel like they could be way better than they are, and it's if they just go out and get a quarterback. He said, sorry, I think of Nebraska. Yeah, no, Martinez, he transferred to Kansas State, and a lot of it had to do with some maybe animosity with the coaching staff. I think he got a bad rap, honestly. I think Martinez started because of his dual threat, what he was able to do, and it was based off his freshman year. His sophomore year, I think there was, from my understanding, this is just me being in this area of Lincoln. Um, Martinez was kind of told to kind of take care of the ball a little more, and he wasn't using his legs and his athleticism as much as a sophomore. And sometimes you want to make the coaches happy, right? You want to learn, you want to get better, because he did have some NFL potential going on after his freshman year. A lot of folks were very excited about him. But when you cut someone's legs, like athleticism like that, you cut their athleticism in half, I think it really hurts. Not to mention, listen, Martinez made some mistakes, but I'll be real, man. I don't think Coach Frost has done a very good job of putting a good team here. Like, he's going into year 5. If he doesn't have a winning season this year, I'm not quite certain he even comes back. And this is Coach Frost. This is a guy who won a national title for this team. He did well at Oregon as an OC. He did great at UCF. You could throw a rock and hit great talent there in Florida. So it wasn't really, I don't know if it was really competitive. Part of me wonders if he kind of turned down a Tennessee offer. It's crazy, man. Yeah. Honestly, it's terrible right now. I don't know what's going on. I do like the new hires of Mark Whipple as offensive coordinator. He was the Pitt offensive coordinator the last couple of years. Mickey Joseph comes over for LSU. He's just a dude. He does a great job of he's basically a pro factory, a wide receiver pro factory. Look what he did with Chase, Beckham, those boys. All those guys were Mickey Joseph products, guys that he recruited all those years. So yeah, I think Jamar Chase, you got Justin Jefferson. Those are all Mickey Joseph products. He's now your offensive coordinator, and he's got a high tenured position as the Nebraska. He's a game planner, assistant head coach. Mickey Joseph is awesome. So there's 2 additions there that I truly do believe in, but I'm with you, man. Frost is absolutely terrible. I don't understand how you can give so much leeway, but I think Nebraska at this point, especially after firing Bo Pelini, who is a perennial 10-win-a-year type coach, I think after firing a guy like him, it kind of makes hard to go out and get those high-profile coaches and think that, if you can't turn Nebraska around in a short period of time. Our fans have a tendency of eating people alive. Like, they're some of the greatest fans in college football. They support their team, but they're so passionate about Nebraska winning, and so a lot of them still live in the mid to late 90s, that they just can't get past the idea that, hey, we might not be that same program anymore. It's going to take a lot to get there, and maybe 10 wins a year and a solid bowl game is good, right? They gave away a coach that did that. They've gone through losing season after losing season. That's just kind of part of it. You got to grow. But yeah, I'm with you, man. Terrible. Thanks, Mike. We will have a great show here. So I'm going to go to break. When I come back, guys, we're going to talk a little bit about the Golden Knights. Las Vegas Aces are kicking off their season real quick here, and then we'll finish up talking about our Las Vegas Raiders. Yeah, Tommy Frazier is gone, my man. He's been gone a long time. Newcomb, gone. Eric Crouch, gone. I mean, Jamal Lord, I don't know if anybody remembers him in those days. He had a big arm, but it is what it is, man. The option style offense. That's another thing. Nebraska has to evolve, and they just didn't do it. They were stuck in the past, man, running that triple option for almost 2-3 decades, and everyone else around them, like Miami and them, was just getting really fast and running pro-style offenses. So, yep, that's what we're looking at. That's why the Cornhuskers are kind of in the position they're in, and I hope it gets better, but it's just one of those things, man. I'm not too optimistic right now. I'm cautious optimism is how I'm approaching it. So when we get back, folks, again, we'll talk Las Vegas Aces. We will talk about the Las Vegas Golden Knights. Are they out of it? Do they need to win out? What are they looking at? And then we'll finish up with our Las Vegas Raiders.
What's happening, sports fans? Are you a fan of Southern California sports? Are you looking for a show hotter than a hot summer day in California? Then look no further than the SoCal Supreme Sports Show, where I talk about all things Southern California sports. That's right, all sports teams from Southern California. From the hard-hitting tackles of the NFL, to the killer crossovers and big three-pointers of the NBA and WNBA, to the grand slams of the MLB, to the bone-chilling goals of the NHL, and to the booming kicks of the MLS, the SoCal Supreme Sports Show has it all for you. Oh, and let us not forget about the college sports as well. So join me, Taryn Rodriguez, every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hey guys, it's Blake Henley, better known as H-Town Blake to some of you. Happy to announce that Bases Loaded is back in full force. We'll be bringing that high heat every Tuesday night here on IE Sports Radio. So come home, get ready, dig into that batter's box, and see if you can chase that high heat, baby. So we'll be coming to you live with all the stats, all the rundowns, all the division rivalries, and every team that's going to make the playoff push to get to that one and only October and get to the pinnacle of what baseball is, to hoist that Commissioner's Trophy when it's all said and done.
Sports fans, do you like teams that are tough, cities that are tougher, and fan bases that are passionate about their teams? How about teams that are historic and stadiums that are iconic? Then you belong in Chicago, and you need to check out Chi-Town Weekly. Join me, Adam Kernan, every week as we keep up with all things Chicago sports. Bears, Bulls, Blackhawks, Cubs, White Sox. We'll cover them all, plus more. The Windy City is always buzzing, and we'll keep you up on all the big games and major stories. So tune in to Chi-Town Weekly every week right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's good, fight fans? It's your boy, Marcus Los Great, here to give you what you want, here to give you what you need. Yeah, man. Yeah. I'm coming to you live, straight from your mama's basement with a crispy white tea. They're coming to you live every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hey sports fans, do you like wine? Well, we've got the show for you. This is Let's Wine About Sports, a show where we talk about wine and sports simultaneously. From the classic Cabernet Sauvignon all the way down to the grapes that you've never even heard of before. Oh yeah, we cover it all. And we'll talk about a little bit of sports as well. Football, hockey, collegiate, women's sports, it doesn't matter. We're going to talk about it all, and we're going to whine about it all. So join me Monday at 8 p.m. on IU Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Welcome back, IE Sports family. Ladies and sinners, this is the IE Vegas, the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio, your feed for all that is sports. I'm your host, Cal Henderson, and we're back from the break. Listen, we just went over a few things. I love Chandler Knight stepping in here, talking to me. Mike Pratt, how's it going, man? Thanks for stopping in. Yeah, we got some things to talk about still. We covered UNLV. Las Vegas Aces season opener is right around the corner here. That's May 5th against Seattle in Seattle. Then they will be here. They will be in Vegas at the Michelob Ultra Center on the 6th. Yes, they will be here on the 6th against the Seattle Storm. I apologize. Seattle Storm Michelob Ultra Arena here in Vegas, May 8th against Seattle Storm. May 6th is their first game, the regular season game. It seems as though they only have one preseason game this year. And yeah, their first game will be in Phoenix against the Phoenix Mercury at the Footprint Center. So yeah, we covered UNLV. A lot going on with the football team. Hats off to UNLV Golf for putting their first player in the Masters. That was awesome. And yeah, unfortunately, their basketball team just lost their recent transfer, or their recent top recruit. They got a couple transfers coming in. So we're hoping to see a tide turning at UNLV. Las Vegas Aces season is just right around the corner. And yeah, get your tickets, folks. It's going to be a blast if you guys get an opportunity. The Michelob Ultra Arena, I've seen pictures, I've seen videos. It looks like it's bumping in there, man. It looks like they do a good job, and they throw a great show. And that's not a surprise because Las Vegas is the entertainment capital of the world, the Sin City, all right? Ladies and sinners, let's get into the Vegas Golden Knights. As we were gone, Chandler Knight came out and said the Knights have maxed out their talent team, full of pretty good players, not great players. Plus, after the New Jersey game, they don't deserve to make the playoffs. I totally agree with you. I think we've covered in the last show. In all realism, man, like I feel as though if the team was going to really make a splash, they had to do it against Calgary, which they did. Honestly, against Calgary, they played a great game. They won 6-1. They let the game slide a little bit against the Oilers. You can't let that happen, especially because that's the team that's in front of you, right? That was one of the teams that has been standing in front of the Las Vegas Golden Knights, I'd say, most of the season, or at least the latter half of the season where they had to make a run. Yeah, they got healthy. They went on a, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-game win streak at one point. They've had a couple 5-game win streaks throughout the season. It's just a matter of, like, when they string a bunch of wins together, they also string some losses. So here's the deal. Here's my analysis on it. One, you got to win the games you got to win. Okay, I felt like even though the Canucks are a tougher team they've been in years past, I feel like Vegas should have beat them. I don't care if they're back-to-back opponents, and 3 nights from then. If you want to make the playoffs, you got to beat the teams you're going to make. You lose to the Canucks, I don't know, after going on a 5-game win streak, which culminated on April 3rd. April 6th was your next game against the Canucks. Yes, you saw them back-to-back in back-to-back games in 3 days, but unfortunately you still lost 5-1. That's not a good look. You beat the Coyotes. I don't know why the Coyotes are still an NHL team. Maybe, I don't know, maybe Angie or somebody from Arizona can kind of answer that because, yeah, the Coyotes are horrible. Have no idea why they still have a team. You beat them. That's a team you're supposed to beat. Again, then you played the Canucks on the 12th. A team you're supposed to beat, you lose in overtime. Yes, you get a point for that, but it's not the same. It's not the same. It seems as though since I started this show about a month or so ago, this team has had an opportunity to close the gap. They've only been behind 3 points out of third place, which is a playoff position in any division. And for whatever reason, they just can't close the gap. You can't beat good teams like you did against the Flames. 6-1. The Flames are one of the better teams in the NHL right now. They're hot. No pun intended. Or pun intended. The Flames are hot right now. And they beat them 6-1. That tells you the talent that's available on this Vegas roster. But I don't see them having like the top tier. I didn't see Jack Eichel make that turn this year that we were hoping to see. And that just kind of happens. Mark Stone, I think he might be getting a little older. I know that this is an injury-riddled roster this year. And it just seems as though these guys, even though they're getting healthy at the right time, they're just not producing the way you want them to. So you beat the Flames, which is a big win. You think you'd keep momentum. 2 nights later, you lose to the Oilers, who is directly in front of you. in the division race. Actually, I think they creeped up to second. So the Oilers were directly in front of you at that point. If you beat them, you gain 2 points. Again, it's huge. You don't lose the Canucks, you have that point. You beat the Oilers, you have 2 points, and now you're in third. You lose to the Devils, again, not a team that's very good, in my opinion. So I'm with you. I don't believe they deserve to be in the playoffs. You still have to play the Capitals. The Sharks aren't very good, so that's possible. To me, you have to win out if you want a chance. And then you're still betting on another team losing to get in, and that sucks when the destiny isn't in your own hands. So realistically, to me, I felt like they had to go on a run. You have to beat the teams you have to beat, man. You have a 5-game win streak against the Predators. Predators are a good team. Blackhawks, The Kraken, terrible. Canucks, again, win. So basically most of those 5 wins was against bad teams, but that's what you're supposed to do. Then you lay an egg against the Canucks on April 6th. You beat the Coyotes, lay an egg against the Canucks in overtime. Can't do that. Those are crucial points. It just doesn't make sense. And I'm with, too soon for Eichel with that injury. I totally agree with you. Retool the roster, but listen, and I'm with you on the younger, heavier players. Listen, I'm a Ducks fan. I grew up watching Corey Perry and Ryan Getzlaf with Ryan Kessler just running around, just beefing dudes. Like their big style offense, get somebody in front of the net, screen the goalie, right? That's the style of hockey I want to see. It's a slower paced hockey. It's more of a puck control type of hockey. It's very physical, but that's what I miss, man. And I think that's what got the Golden Knights into their first, Stanley Cup to begin with. They had a lot of speed, a lot of talent, but those guys weren't afraid to be gritty in a division that's very gritty, right? The Pacific Division, you can say whatever you want about it. 5 years ago, it was one of the greatest divisions in all of hockey. Nasty. These guys were just going at it all the time. Penalty minutes were sky high. I mean, it's just Pacific's fun to watch. But that's something I feel like that's lost its way in the Pacific. That happens, I think, all the time. Like, I call it the Warriors effect, right? And I know I'm kind of switching gears to basketball real quick, so forgive me. But I call it the Warriors effect. The Warriors came out with Steph Curry and all these guys. They're not super huge guys. Yes, they're 6'3", so they're still a couple inches taller than me. But when you look at them, compared to the rest of the NBA, they weren't very big, but what they were great is they were very efficient at scoring. They were very efficient at the three. And all of a sudden, the NBA said, man, these guys are scoring a ton of points. They're scoring 130, 140 points. We got to try and, match this. So then everybody starts moving to more of a small ball concept. Well, then what happens? I don't know. Let LeBron, Anthony Davis get together a few years later, and they go back to that slow-paced, dominating the boards. Like, that's what I feel like sports like hockey, the best teams do. They dominate the puck, they dominate the boards, if you will, and they screen goalies the best. They get their big forward who's very talented with great hand-eye coordination there to tip in the puck. 100% believe that, right? And I get it, I'm with you. I totally agree with you. Chandler and I, or Terrence Stopson, good evening, Kale. Hope you're having a sinning show. Yeah, always sinning, man. That's the problem. That's why Larry gave me Vegas. This guy's got a plan for everything. I think that's why Larry gave me Vegas. They said this guy needs to go to church. Let's send him the Vegas show. Chandler Knight says true, but look at the Avs. They are pretty, but they play heavy as well. They do. They have a good mix. But you can do that when you have a superstar like McKinnon. Okay? I'm not saying he's not physical. I'm saying when you have that kind of talent on your team, you have some, room for error. Okay? They can be a multifaceted team. I believe some of the teams in the NHL that were very good that aren't good anymore, they kind of got away from their bread and butter. Like Anaheim, Anaheim Ducks, the Golden Knights, they're in a division where it's about being heavy on the puck, and it's about screening goals, and it's about beating up people. And yes, from a long-term perspective, it's kind of harmful to players, but it wins games. And realistically, man, NHL playoff hockey is all about that. It's all about being heavy. It's all about being physical. Because when you get into those third overtimes and there's no shootout, that team that's worn down, I mean, it is what it is, man. That's my favorite style of NHL. It's not the NHL of today. I get it. It's more speed. They do a great job of passing, setting up lanes, alleys to shoot the puck, but it's just not my style. I don't like it. I've kind of fallen out of love with the NHL in that aspect. And the Golden Knights, to me, they have talent, but I agree with you. They don't have top tier talent. Eichel's a little early. I still think he's still developing. He was kind of forced into something he didn't need to be in Buffalo because Buffalo is ass. I mean, that's just the realism. That's the realism of Buffalo, right? Um, I don't know, William Karlsson to me is one of those guys. I feel like he needs more love for the Golden Knights. He was one of those centerpieces when the expansion happened. Just don't think he gets enough love. Mark Stone. They have good players. I personally, to me, Chandler, I think what really killed the Golden Knights in recent years was they traded Marc-Andre Fleury after he had basically a Vezina year. He was a Vezina finalist. Marc-Andre Fleury, the Flower, still had 2 or 3 years left of prime hockey with the team that Vegas had, and they said, you know what? Let's see if we can get younger. And I think it kicked him in the butt, in my opinion. I think the Flower was still very good. I think Marc-Andre Fleury was still doing work. I think he was the veteran presence that this young Golden Knights team really needed at the time. I don't know. They still have Marshall, Stevenson. They got, I don't know, man. They got hella good players on this team. Defensively, they need a lot of help. I don't think Liner was the guy. I don't think they should have entrusted, this goaltending to him. He's been injury riddled, and you just didn't see that from Mark. Mark was in the goal almost every time they needed him. So that to me has been the killer for this team, the Achilles heel. You put Marc-Andre Fleury, on this roster, even at an older age, I think they maybe win 5 to 8 more games, and that's the difference between being in the playoffs and not, realistically. So that's my take on the Golden Knights. I don't know if they'll make the playoffs. They have to win out, in my opinion. They will need to win out and hope that or at least get a point in every single game, majority of them being wins, and hope that some team screws up and gives them the opportunity to hop back in this race. But I don't see it happening. I'm totally with Chandler. I think they're out. So at this point, in my opinion, the top 3 in the Pacific Division, they're pretty well set. Unless something drastic happens, they're pretty well set. And those top 3 teams would be the Flames, the Oilers, and the Kings. So as of a week and a half ago, the Oilers were in 3rd. Oilers kind of overtake. They went on a run themselves. The Kings have had a turnaround, a big turnaround as a franchise from what we saw the last 5 years. They're now in 3rd place, looking to be a playoff team very soon here. And there's the Golden Knights, still 3 points back. And it all derives from you're getting rid of guys that have a great presence that can still help you. And yeah, man, you don't beat the teams you're supposed to beat. When you can't beat the teams that you're supposed to beat consistently in the NHL, you don't deserve to be in the playoffs. You can't beat the Flames and then turn around and lose to the Canucks. I'm sorry, that's just doesn't make sense to me at all. So I'm with you. Golden Knights, they're not going to make it. Unfortunately, that's our negativity for the Golden Knights, but I mean, they're going to find ways. The one thing I can tell you about the Golden Knights is they've been an absolute blueprint of how you want to be consistent right away. I wish the Kraken would have had the type of season that the Golden Knights did when they first became an NHL team, because that would have shown some real buzz, and I thought that it would have made or created validity in how the expansion format is. Because tell me if I'm wrong, Chandler. I think Adam, he's probably listening. Adam Karnick from the Shy Weekly. He's a big hockey guy. Listen, tell me if I'm wrong, but if I remember correctly, if you are an expansion team, you essentially get the 6th best player. It's like the 6th or the 7th best player on each roster to choose from in the NHL, unless they are somebody that was basically put in a position where it was unless they were, what was it, a no trade or was a no move clause. You had a limit to how many you could lock in, and that was based on the contract and what the team decided to do. You could also trade draft picks to the Kraken or the expansion team to keep them from taking specific players. I don't know if the Kraken maybe had a little more conservative management when it came to how they were going to build the team, but I agree. Yeah, exactly. I totally agree with that. I think the Kraken has different management than the Knights. I think the Knights said, we're in Vegas. We're in a great sports town. This is the only venue, really, the only pro sports team. Let's go for it. Let's try it. I totally agree with you on that. I think the Kraken said, let's just take the draft picks and build. Let's build a drastic farm. Let's look at the long view. 100% agree. I'm excited about the Kraken, man. I think the color scheme's cool. The idea in Seattle of having a hockey team is super sweet. Seattle's essentially, to me, Southern Canada. So I think it's perfect. Great spot. Great spot. Transitioning over to our Las Vegas Raiders. And before we do that, guys, listen, I got to bring it up. Got to go over it one more time. The NFL draft starts next Thursday, the 28th. The first round will be, anyway. With that said, we have a draft competition here at IE Sports Radio. The 2022 NFL Draft is right around the corner. IE Sports Radio is excited to announce its third annual mock draft challenge. The rules are simple. Predict all 32 NFL first-round draft picks. No trades, no modifications, no tricks. The participant who has the best mock draft will receive a shout-out on all of our shows and their choice of an IE Sports Radio hat or t-shirt. For more information or to submit your mock, please reach out to Mike Pat at letswine_IESR. Good luck. Again, if you folks guess all 32, go get a lottery ticket. And then Venmo your boy. Okay? Because you're my hero at that point. NFL draft right around the corner. Chandler Knight chimes back in. Seattle is about building long-term fan base. I get it. I get it. They did a great job with the Seahawks. I hope they can kind of win them back. They've had a rough couple of years. And it's going to be interesting to see how Seattle bounced back with the Russell Wilson situation. I know Seattle was very heartbroken when the Sonics were moved to Oklahoma City. It's kind of part of it, man. It's a good sports town, though, man. I think it's a great sports place. I really do. I think Seattle's a good place to go. Low key. Even if it's raining all the time and probably the most depressing city in America, the sports scene's got to be cool. Beautiful town. So the NFL draft is right on the corner. The Raiders are right around the corner with that. I think they've had a stellar offseason. Like I've said in shows past, I give the Raiders a B+ so far this offseason. And I think it's because they've done a great job of finding value signings, value players that have made impacts for other teams. And these players are going to come in and fit the system that Patrick Graham, our new defensive coordinator, and Josh McDaniels, our offensive coordinator and new head coach, are going to mold. I think it's a great situation for the Raiders. I think they get Dave Ziegler. To me, right now has an A. He's been an A+ GM. I love the Derek Carr signing. Let's talk about that. Last week, the Las Vegas Raiders signed Derek Carr to an extension. Derek Carr's extension is essentially 3 years, $121 million in new money. Chandler Knights. McDaniels is going to fail miserably. He's already showed you who he is. Listen, man. I think that Denver was what it was, and yeah, he ran back to Bill. But I gotta give him a second chance here. I think that they're handling this in a really smart way. This roster, and you got to look at it from my point of view because I'm a big Raiders fan. I love the Raiders. I've been a Raiders fan my whole life. I haven't seen smart football moves in 20 seasons. Okay. I've seen a load of missed first-round draft picks. I've seen quarterbacks go, and I'm with you. I love Derek Carr. I think he's a man's man. I think he's a leader. I think he does a great job of showing that he wants to be a part of the franchise, and that's what we're about to talk about here. I think his contract was so Raiders friendly, it just kind of shows he just wanted to be a Raider. That's it. Listen, when you look at the grand scheme of the contract, it looks like 4 years, $140 million, okay? That comes out to be about 35 point something million a year. He's a better quarterback than Kirk Cousins, and he's making less than Kirk Cousins. And I say he's better because the guy's done more with less talent around him over the last, I don't know, his basically his whole career than anybody else in the league. The Raiders have been bad. They've been a poverty franchise. Okay? They went from being worth $970 million in Oakland to now $3.9 billion in Las Vegas, and that is only going to exponentially grow because of their popularity, playoffs, and I think Dave Ziegler and Josh McDaniels are right around it, man. Listen, I don't think Josh McDaniels comes here if he doesn't think he's going to win. So I get where you're coming from. I didn't like the way he treated the Colts. I also don't think the Colts were being upfront about the Andrew Luck situation because at the time, he thought Andrew Luck was going to be the starting quarterback when he signed the contract. Then Andrew Luck, I don't know, I wouldn't say about a month and a half later, decided he was going to retire. Josh had to have gotten wind of that. And I don't blame him. I don't blame him. Davis keeps hiring sizzle over steak. I don't know. I think we'll find out, man. Like I said, I've seen more smart football moves out of this staff than I have in like the last half decade. And that's scary. And I don't think it takes too much to get better than Gruden. Gruden was cheeks, man. His players were awful. You can see where Mayock picked players, and you can see where Gruden picked players. You know, the Hunter Renfros of the world, right? The Nate Hobbs of the world. Trayvon Morg was somebody he was pounding the table for to trade up in the second that Gruden just didn't want to do. But he finally gave in because Mark stepped in. Okay? I think that Mike Mayock got a bad rap. And realistically, anything that we've seen so far this offseason is an absolute upgrade over the trash we saw over the last 4 years. And they were still somehow competitive. Right? That's how I feel about the talent on this roster. I think it's good. If we're being real here, the Raiders roster was the second least talented roster in the playoffs last year. The only team that might have been worse talent was the Philadelphia Eagles, who the Raiders beat like 33-21, and it still wasn't even that close. Derek Carr had over 90% completion rating against them. Like, when you look at rosters, the Raiders were a score away from beating the AFC champions, and they were probably the second least talented roster in the playoffs. It's kind of crazy to me. You don't have a number one wide receiver. Your tight end's still banged up. Your offensive line is ranked 28th in the NFL. Here's a sobering fact for anybody listening. The Cincinnati Bengals were graded better as an offensive line than the Las Vegas Raiders last year. And if it wasn't for a stellar last 4 weeks of the season, the Las Vegas Raiders would probably have been ranked 29th or 30th instead of 28th. That's how bad it was for Derek Carr and that team. And somehow they still made the playoffs. It doesn't make sense, man. So yeah, I think the on-field moves have been great. I think they've done a great job of finding value. One of my favorite I can't wait to watch is Anthony Everett, cornerback from Baltimore. Guy literally shut down Tyreek Hill. And it's not easy to do. Tyreek Hill had 4 catches for 3 yards. He's got great speed. He's very sticky in coverage. I'm a little optimistic. I'm pretty optimistic about Rock Ya-Sin. I'm very optimistic about Chandler Jones. I hope they have a good pitch count for him. I don't want him to be overused because you need someone like him for later in the season. Run Max Crosby into the ground. The guy's a freak of nature, and I love his story. I think defensively we're better than we've ever been. Trayvon Morg is a stud at free safety. So defensively, I really like what's going on there. Divine Diablo is going to be a huge piece going into his second season. It's going to be a big jump. I really hope that Patrick does a great job. Patrick Graham does a great job, defensive coordinator, of really utilizing Divine Diablo, because he doesn't just have to be an outside linebacker. The guy played strong safety in a 3-4 system for Virginia Tech. And we all know the Bud Foster defense. I know Bud Foster's not there anymore, but we all know the Bud Foster line does a great job with DBs. Let Divine Diablo be a strong safety in the box or whatever you want to do, but let him roam, man. Let him go. Let him blitz. Divine Diablo's a stud. Offensively, we got better. We all know about the Devontae Adams trade. Big deal. It's a huge deal. You now have a number one receiver for Derek Carr, something he hasn't had in years. Henry Ruggs was developing. Derek Carr hasn't had a number one receiver since the Michael Crabtree, Amari Cooper days. And it feels like it was more than a decade ago, but it was only like 4 years. Crazy. Graham is very smart. And yes, I agree, Chandler. Graham is one of the most underrated DCs in the league. The only good thing you can say about the New York Giants the last 3 years has been their defense. Their defense has kept them in games. Yes, they've lost a lot of games, which usually means the other team scored more points than you. But that wasn't because of that defense. It was the inability to block for their offense. Daniel Jones trying to figure things out. Saquon Barkley injuries. They can't seem to find adequate weapons. Graham is a genius. He could find guys square peg, round hole. He'll figure it out. I know it doesn't make sense, but that's Graham. That's the type of guy he is. That's why I'm excited. You know, you have Rob Ryan coming in being a consultant. He's not really going to have any major say, but he's going to help a young Patrick Graham get better. I'm really excited, man. I think it's good. Chris Ash is the DB's coach. I think they're on the right path, and that's what I'm saying, dude. People think that McDaniels is just going to fizzle out immediately. I don't see it. I think he's given complete defensive control to a guy like Graham, who's very smart, who's an up-and-coming African-American coach, which I love because he's going to be a head coach sooner or later for a good football team if he does it right, if he picks the right place to go. We need more of that in this league, right? Champ Kelly, assistant GM, he doesn't get enough love for his scouting. He's helped a lot with these contracts. I'm telling you, man. Having Rob means you actually have Rex. I mean, if he comes in and he helps Graham guide him to a good spot, that's going to give him or put him in position to really be that defensive coordinator. Here's the thing. The Raiders have not had a top 20 defense in over a decade. They were literally voted the worst defense in the last decade. If the dude does better than top 20, I think Las Vegas is probably going to try and make him president. Or Raider Nation will. That's not even a joke. That's how bad it's been on defense. So I'm excited. From a mock draft perspective, guys, I know that The Athletic kind of put round 3, Kobe Bryant, the Thorpe Award winner, dude's a beast. He was on the other side of, and I don't know why all of a sudden I'm blanking. I'm sorry, Sauce Gardner. Kobe Bryant may not be as good as Sauce, may not have the same kind of potential, but I would be excited if that's your third round pick. His diminishing thing is that he ran a 4.5 4.40. I hope so, Chandler. Raiders should be a top 12 defense, Chandler says. I hope so. If that's the case, we're a playoff team again. Because I can tell you right now, I think that offense will be top 10. McDaniels has done nothing but put top 10 offenses. Even in Denver, he had multiple top 10 offenses with what's his face. I can't remember his name. He's not even in the league anymore. Kyle Orton. Good Lord. Kyle Orton. He had top 10 offenses with Kyle Orton. That's what that tells you, man. Trayvon Mullen, Rock Ya-Sin, I mean, they'll probably be your corners, so you got to add an additional guy. I don't see Trayvon Mullen being back after this year. We don't know what's going on with Rock Ya-Sin. This is kind of his contract year, if you will. So, yeah, adding a guy like Kobe Bryant who's going to be a mainstay. He's very sticky in coverage. You might as well do it. Danny Gray, wide receiver out of SMU. I've been drafting him in the 5th round, early 6th in a lot of mock drafts on PFF, and I've been getting D grades. I don't understand why that's the case. I think Danny Gray out of SMU is one of the most versatile wide receivers in the draft. Guy ran a 4.33 40. The 40 time isn't everything. The thing with him is he's a great gadget player. Like you see these Deebo Samuels of the world where you can literally line him up in a slot, run, jet sweep with these guys. You can have him run crossing routes. You can have him run go routes, double moves. That's something Danny Gray can do in spades because of his shiftiness, man. He's 6 feet, 186 pounds, but I think this is the perfect style of receiver for a Josh McDaniels offense, being that they love their slot guys. That's the one thing that I really love about what's going to happen with Derek Carr and Josh McDaniels this year. I do believe that the passing game is going to be the most efficient we've seen in years. And I'm telling you, it's decisive. Like Josh is going to scheme guys open. Derek's going to help get involved with that. It's not going to be so wishy-washy like we saw last year. And that's what's important for the Raiders team. Kellen Deitch in the 5th round is what the Athletic has. If Kellen Deitch makes it to the 5th round, dude, there's something wrong with the draft because Kellen Deitch was one of the highest graded offensive tackles in the Power 5. Yeah, he played left tackle. He could easily play right. He's probably a great backup at left. I just don't see it happening, man. He won't be in the 5th. There's no way. If he does, that's crazy. Kalia Davis, defensive tackle, UCF, was listed as a linebacker coming into UCF or going into UCF. He's now basically a nose tackle at 6'2", 310 pounds. So dude had a position change. He took that seriously. E.J. Perry, quarterback. Brown, I don't see the Raiders taking a quarterback. You already have Nick Mullins and Garrett Gilbert. I just don't see it. So that's my takeaway with that. I don't think this is a very good mock draft. I love Kobe. I like the idea of Danny Gray. I think Danny Gray is still too early. It just doesn't seem realistic to me. So this is what I kind of did. I had a realistic one and I had an unrealistic one when it came to my page. So pardon me one moment while I pull it up. When it came to the mock draft, I'll just give you guys what I thought was going to be the realistic one, which had no trades in it. So in the 3rd round, I went Khalil Shakir. Somehow he was still available. He's out of Boise State. He's got 4.4 speed. He's got a big body. The dude was an all-around athlete and a freak of nature for Boise State. Honestly, I think that guy single-handedly kept them in games at times. In the 4th round at 126, I had DeMarco Jackson out of Appalachian State. I think he's a linebacker with a lot of upside. He was all over the field at Appalachian State. I think he can cover, which is one of the big things in the NFL you need now. He missed a few tackles, but he's still a sure tackler. I think DeMarco's a guy that you pick on upside. Could there be better options out there? Absolutely. You could probably go after a Power 5 guy, but I think this dude will end up being a stud. In round 5, I had defensive tackle or nose tackle, big man Noah Ellis. 364 pound, 6'3 guy. He's not very explosive, but he's great with leverage. He'll get off the ball, and he's so hard to move at that weight, man. He's just a freak of nature, man. He's a big dude. Big dude. Cornerback Cordell Flott, I have no idea how he lasted to the 5th round in this mock out of LSU. It's probably because of his size, if he does, because he's only 165 pounds at 6'1". But again, he's a sticky guy. He's going to be probably a slot guy to start out. And then round 7, I had Eric Swinson. Eric Swinson, to me, massive left tackle for the Oklahoma Sooners. Got great experience in gap and zone type of offenses. He's a mover, and he didn't allow a sack last year. Now, I get it's the Big 12. They don't play defense. But that's a big deal to me, right? I'm not trying to just give anybody opportunities at tackle. We need a swing tackle here in Las Vegas. Because right now your starter is Brandon Parker unless your first-round pick from last year can step it up. And I'm not guaranteeing anything when it comes to Alex Leatherwood. I'd love to see it. Our backup running back right now is Kenyon Drake. The offense looked actually much better when Kenyon was healthy and he was playing. If it wasn't for horrible blocking, he probably wouldn't have had a spiral fracture in his shin. Kenyon Drake's a beast. I really like watching him run. He's so versatile. Dude caught a 40-yard pass for a touchdown last year in stride along the sideline. You can do a lot with him. Josh Jacobs is going to be the meat and potatoes. I get it. But Kenyon, there's so much you can do. I still think that the Raiders need to draft a back. But they went out and got Brandon Bolden, who's averaged over 10 yards a reception in his career in New England. And that's something New England's done a great job of with backs, is getting them the ball in screens or third down plays. So I like that. I like the possibilities there. We'll see what happens. The offensive line is my biggest concern of the team right now. Linebacker depth and offensive line. If the Raiders don't shore that up, we're not going to do any better than what we did last year. Cincinnati showed that if you don't have at least a competent offensive line, you're going to get a train run on you. And that's not cool. And LA looks great. Oh yeah. Kid from MSU's a free agent. Oh, I hope that works out. I'd love to see that. Listen, folks, man, it's been a blast. I love the show. I love everybody tuning in this fine evening on a Tuesday evening. I appreciate everybody kind of with their feedback, man. Keep me posted. Get at me on Twitter at SinCity_IESR. Get at me at my Twitter page at Kale_Henderson, man. We're on every Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, talking to you about anything Vegas. This is the hashtag Vegas Life. NFL Draft's right around the corner. I hope we have a prequel to next week's, draft coverage. Can't wait to talk to you guys the following week when we see what's happening and we get all the draft grades in. This is a fun time of year. Late April is a fun time of year. NFL Draft is going to be a lot of fun to watch. Can't wait for it. I hope the Vegas Golden Knights pull their heads out. Don't think it's going to happen, but they got to go on a win streak. A lot to talk about, guys. Always a lot to talk about in Vegas, and I think it's one of the fastest growing sports markets in the nation. Love it. Folks, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. I will see you all next week. Same time, same channel. All right? Ladies and sinners, have a good evening. Take your melatonin, get that rest, eat healthy, and we'll see you next week. Love, peace, and hair grease.